I am.
This is Sam Stone, aka Serious Sam. And he is the toughest son of a bitch out there. And he has to be, because he has to kill hordes and hordes of monsters. And I mean literal hordes. Now this may seem a bit over the top, and that is because it is. But the best part about all of this is that the game seems to be delightfully aware of it. Serious Sam, the second encounter, is no stranger to humor, being filled with parody-esque features, sarcasm, wittiness and self-awareness. But how exactly is humor implemented throughout the game? To answer this question, we will be looking at the presence of parody and the way in which interactive gags are executed. Published by Croatian developer Croteam on the 5th of February 2002, the second encounter is the second game in the Serious Sam franchise. You follow the story of Serious Sam as he makes his way through numerous levels, trying to reach his arch-nemesis mentor.
No!
The storyline is very much in the background though, as Greg Kasavin in his GameSpot review states. The second encounter isn't heavy on plot. The context is really just there as an excuse to set the game within a number of colorful, exotic levels and to fill these with monsters, traps, weapons and power-ups.
Break! I can't break because it's already broken! Oh my god, we're gonna crash!
What was that? Oh no, I'm going down. Going down where? Pyramids? Egypt! Egypt! No, not Egypt again!
The game focuses much more on its extreme gameplay of shooting and killing hundreds of mobs in a fast-paced, humor-filled, absurd fashion. And it is what the game is best known for. However, Serious Sam is often lovingly referred to as nothing more than a Doom clone or a Duke Nukem ripoff. Whilst there is some truth, the element of parody is the main reasoning why it looks so alike. This leads us to the first sub-question. How does the humorous element of parody play a leading role in Serious Sam the second encounter? Looking at the definition of parody, it is first and foremost an opposition or contrast between texts, as Hutchin describes in her book. One text is set against another with the intent of mocking it or making it ludicrous, meaning that it is the difference between the two texts which provokes the parody and thus the irony. For the creation of the first encounter and thus the Serious Sam franchise, Croteam worked upon the idea of parody. They took inspiration from the first-person shooters which were already on the market. Wolfenstein, Duke Nukem and especially Quake were the games admittedly looked up to. They did however feel like something was missing in those games. At the time, Croteam couldn't afford to buy an engine to create the game, so they decided to make one themselves. With the freedom of working with their own engine, they could add things they thought necessary.
To gain what we want to achieve in the game, that's huge environments and a huge number of enemies, we had to deliver something that wasn't actually seen anywhere.
This way, Serious Sam remade an old first-person shooter but added their own twist, huge battlefields and hundreds of enemies, both highlighting and parodying what was missing in those earlier titles to begin with. It's really the extremity of the differences between the parody and the parodied that adds to the irony. Then Harris defines this phenomenon as one of the primary 6 methods of parody, stating that exaggeration magnifies the original elements to a ridiculous degree, and thus irony is born. Another important parody element in Serious Sam is the man himself.
Good morning, Babylon!
He quite fits the macho man archetype, yet there is a difference. First there was Duke Nukem, who was an absurd stand-up of the prototypical action hero, but once Duke's crass style became its own archetype, Croteam brought about Sam Serious Stone, who injected some much-needed sarcasm and self-doubt into Duke's braggadocio. It's as Lauren Gonzalez put it in her article. The muscle-clad fearless gunslinger is one archetype, Serious Sam is quite another. Parody can thus be found again in the differences. Serious Sam parodies the archetype of macho man, macho shooters, but also of Duke Nukem himself.
Man, you are ugly!
The difference lies in Serious Sam's meta-knowledge. He knows he's a walking stereotype and he loves to reference it. This is mostly seen through his one-liners. One of the best examples is seen in the level of the Tower of Babel. Here he acknowledges his own stereotypical behavior and how the game reacts to it.
What are you waiting for? A one-liner?
As with the hundreds of mobs, the same principle of exaggeration counts, mainly because most of what Serious Sam says can be counted as exaggerated and absurd bravado. One of the biggest wings to him being a parody is the alliterated name Serious Sam. With it comes an excessive arsenal of uses for the word serious.
Serious speed! Now I'm seriously serious.
Ironically, Serious Sam's character and the game are anything but serious, and instead take aim at older macho, humorless shooter games by contrasting themselves as the opposite. Parody and paired irony can only be experienced if the player has knowledge of the background context and understands the statements the foreground is making. If they, for instance, lack prior knowledge of first-person shooters or macho stereotypes, they won't get the gist of it. However, even without the acknowledgement of parody, Serious Sam is still a game filled with humor and gags, which brings us to the second sub-question. How do interactive gags add humor to Serious Sam the Second Encounter? Interactive gag is a term coined by Dooley Murphy in his article Press X to Punchline. It's in its most basic form a scripted participatory joke in a game. The crucial part is the player input, which cues the interactive gag's payoff or punchline through sometimes invisible and sometimes unavoidable activation mechanisms. The interactive gags are not a particular mode or mechanism of humor, but they instead span and incorporate diverse comic devices like puns, one-liners or slapstick moments. I have split the interactive gags in Serious Sam into two types based on whether they are unavoidable. Scripted gags are triggered through hard-coded gameplay that everyone follows. Secret gags are triggered either accidentally or purposely by following specific steps to set the gag in motion. The scripted gags in the game are mostly one-liners. Every player will hear them as they have scripted triggers, such as entering a new area,
Oh yeah, finally, some dark dungeon.
picking up a weapon,
Hey guys, let's play hot potato.
or clearing a monster wave.
I need a vacation.
Most of these one-liners are pretty corny. However, seen in the light of the aforementioned presence of parody in the game, they stand up pretty well as interactive gags.
Die when I kill you!
Some of his one-liners, however, are just plainly absurd.
Man, it's cold. My nipples are like pencil erasers.
What did he say?
Another example of scripted interactive gags in the Second Encounter are the ways the game tries to trick the player. Take this example. The player expects to just walk on, but instead the bridge crumbles underneath him. Instead of falling to his death, he finds out that the floor is bouncy. Now the player is not only the laughing subject, but also the comic object. The game deliberately makes the player the punchline. To find the humor in this, however, the player needs to be able to shift perspective from a played self to their actual playing self. Only this way, the distant subjective and dispassionately reflective comic attitude can be aimed towards oneself. It's not only in the scripted gags that this stance is asked to be taken by the player. A lot of secret gags also play a joke on the player. The secret gags present in the Second Encounter dub themselves as secrets as well. Throughout the 12 levels there are 126 secrets to be found, and a lot of them are a joke in some way. These are called secret gags since players can only trigger them if they find them in the first place, and that's not always easy. The game doesn't really mention they are there. Deeply hidden in the statistics menu there's a secrets counter which says how many you have found. How to find them though is up to you. There's a big chance you find one by accident, only because of the message that flashes up on screen. Do you know it was a secret? For some you can just walk around the corner and receive some extra needed ammo. For others you have to follow an intricate parkour trail just to finally receive a reward. More often than not, after finally finding a secret, you are getting rewarded by the game with a welcoming squad of monsters,
Vulnerable moment right there, I won't lie.
making the health you just picked up obsolete. But that is the gist of it. Serious Sam keeps playing jokes on you because that is what it does as a humorous over-the-top game. Some of these secrets are so absurd and weird looking you can't help but laugh.
Oh my god, you killed Blondie!
Van der Mosselaar calls this one of the ways the dual status of the player is made explicit. The gameplay reveals itself as a comic object, and the player, now distant and able to perceive the game objectively, is simultaneously the one who is laughing and the one who is mocked. While serious and second encounter may come off as shallow and providing cheap laughs, diving into it shows the numerous layers to its humor. This way, such an analysis of an old game can show us interesting ways on how humor can be implemented in games, but also how different humorous concepts as parody and gags interact with each other. The study of humor is still in its infancy regarding ludology, so perhaps an analysis like this, about a game not often spoken about, can add some interesting insights.
R.I.P. Love and shout out to her family.